Hey guys, welcome to I guess the second episode of the Funky Marketing podcast, when we are talking about different things that we usually do. So this time we are talking from the people that we consider as the people of the funky marketing top voices, and we are getting into conversations that are not only connected with marketing and business, but also some other parts of life, and trying to get you the new fresh views. Today I have the pleasure to welcome a guy with whom I've been chatting once in every 3 months, I'd say, on LinkedIn, and kind of somebody who is been over there, somebody who I respect very much as a marketer. So Gaetano, maybe you can tell a few words about yourself instead of me doing
it. Sure, man. So I'll try to keep it short as possible, but I have an interesting story. I fell ass backwards into marketing. My goal in life was not to be a professional marketer. It was to be a music producer. And I still do that, by the way, today. But my goals have changed a little bit. So back in 2011, I was blogging a lot just because I needed a way to express how I was feeling about my journey as an up-and-coming music producer and songwriter in New York. I realized that nobody was really going to express their ups and downs in their music career. And so I said, let me do something different. Let me just start putting out very relatable content. And I didn't have a goal of growing traffic or, growing my social media at the time. It was just, let me just start shedding light into a very cryptic world, a world that people see from the outside as very mysterious. How does it work? Kind of like SEO in a way. Now that people are starting to learn a lot more about SEO and growth marketing and stuff, it's not as much of a secret as it used to be. But long story short, my blog started getting crazy amounts of views and traffic. And it turns out that people were searching online for the things I was writing about. Is this XYZ company a scam? XYZ company music reviews, how to become a songwriter and make money. How do you get a meeting with a record label? How do you book a show and get your fans to come to your shows? All these sorts of things. And what I had realized was people were searching Google, finding my stuff. And I love the idea of not having to promote my own content, because promoting content sucks. It's just not fun. I don't really know anyone out there that says, I love promoting content. It's fun. I love asking people to comment and share and like and subscribe. No one really likes doing that. There's probably a few people who like it, but most people hate that because you're putting yourself out there and you're just, you're pandering for, attention in a way, but you kind of have to do it as a content creator. And so I loved that. And then I realized, man, there's something to this. There's some magic to this. This was in 2011 for me. So I really love the idea of thinking maybe I can make money doing this. Maybe I can learn professional SEO, and that can fuel my music career, at least give me money to do things that I need. And so I was always following this guy, Mike King, who I love and respect a ton. He's one of the top SEOs in the world, hands down, no question. And he was starting his own agency at the time. And I had reached out to him on LinkedIn. I said, hey man, I've been a follower of yours for a while. I've been learning about SEO just through watching, your Twitter account and all the things that you do. Would you hire me to join your company, even though I'm not proven? He gave me a test project. My test project was essentially to explain the SEO behind my blog, my music career, my social media strategy, my YouTube strategy. Got the job, and then he had some big clients fast. He threw me into the deep end, into the fire pit, into the lion's den. I was working with companies like Major League Baseball and Trojan Condoms and First Response Pregnancy Testing Kit. And, many types of clients too, across real estate, e-commerce, a diamond retailer, And so I got exposed to major stuff quick. And within 2 years, I was the top performer. I then left the company, moved on to Pipe Drive. I wanted to go in-house. I led the SEO team at Pipe Drive. Fun fact, I've been to Estonia like 20 times. It's a random fun fact. No one even really knows what Estonia is, but it's a tiny little country in Eastern Europe. That's where Pipe Drive is HQ'd. And so after Pipe Drive, I went to Sales Hacker, became the VP of marketing, took the company to an acquisition by Outreach. As you know, it's a sales automation software, now a unicorn company. Congrats to them for doing great work, doing a great job. They're going to be really successful in the future. They already are. And and then I didn't want to join Outreach full time, and I decided to switch it up. And I went to Nextiva. Nextiva is a cloud communications leader. We really focus on helping companies work from anywhere with regard to their communication system. So things like doing your business calls, meetings, team collaboration tools. We primarily serve mid-market. And so we're not trying to compete with the likes of Slack and Zoom and so forth. We serve kind of the non-technical audience. So our mission is to really make communication easy and simple for businesses. And I've been here for about 2.5 years now. We just got our first real big piece of love from TechCrunch. We announced our revenue publicly for the first time ever. We're a private company that's bootstrapped, self-funded. We just hit 200 million in ARR. And we've done this through primarily all 100% inbound marketing. So we've done zero outbound to this day. That's going to change in 2021. We can talk about that. But yeah, man, we built this up with SEO, paid ads, content, brand, referral marketing, affiliate marketing, email marketing, social media. And just high quality organic demand generation. And so that's where we're at today.
Yeah, nice overview. Thanks for sharing it like structurally. I can see a lot of like similarities, especially like the things that you wrote to me, like growing up in Bronx in New York, like playing basketball with friends, relationship with your grandmother, if I'm not wrong, like those kind of things. I was also playing basketball. Like my father was a basketball coach, so it kind of came naturally. And growing up here in Serbia, it was a bit different than New York, but we had like we were isolated at the time in the 90s. We couldn't travel, so like being able to play basketball, it allowed me to travel inside the country to different cities, which were actually more than others did. And like that friendships that we created, that competitive spirit, I remember like us even getting up at 5 a.m. and just cleaning up snow so we can play basketball. I mean, that's how passionate we were about it. So tell me a little bit about the childhood specifically and about those special moments.
Yeah, man. I think that's cool that, you were getting up at 5 a.m. to clean snow to go play basketball in Serbia. I think, it was kind of the same shit for me, to tell you the truth. Like whenever there was a snowstorm and we didn't have to go to school, me and my friends were like, yeah, football. And we'd go down to the park and play tackle football with our coats on, because it would be like 20 or 30 degrees. That's like 0 Celsius, I think, below 0 Celsius. So pretty cold. But yeah, we used to do that kind of stuff. Then in the hot weather in the summertime, I mean, there's nothing like New York City summer. It's just so classic, man. Just playing stickball in the street. We used to play all sorts of games, like right in the middle of the street. We used to play like stickball, wiffle ball. We used to play two-hand touch football in the middle of the street. And then if there was like a car coming, we'd be like, car. Everybody would move to the side, let the car pass, that kind of thing. And so, there's a sense of independence you get growing up as a young kid in New York City, because you got to do a lot of shit on your own. You got to get on the subway. You got to pay for a Metro card. You got to go to the deli. You got to ask for what you want. You got to, you're sort of like a young man in this massive world with all this stimulus happening around you. And you know, you mature a lot faster because you're not in the classic sort of American upbringing, right? You're not like, hey mom, let's get in the car and drive to the store, and you're in the safety of your mom's car. You know, then you can't go anywhere unless you drive. It's not like that in New York City. It's like, hey mom, I'm going out, see you later. Like I was like 12. So, you know, you become this like young little guy, and your maturity is accelerated because of your environment. And so that is what I appreciated about growing up in New York City.
I love that. That's special. I mean, getting used to being independent from the young age, it's something that I don't know how it is in other countries, but here, like in Serbia, people don't have jobs, and so young people live with their parents until they 30, even 35. Some of them never leave actually, and it's kind of sad because they don't get to know themselves better in that way, and like introduce themselves to life, who we really are. And like especially in my hometown, I remember that like there's a huge Michelin factory, and like the kids finish high school, they go to work over there, and they never exit the company. So they just live for the family. It's good, but at the time you don't know yourself, so you don't know the what are your limits or what can you achieve in life, and like kind of interesting thoughts that that the conversation gets me in.
Yeah, you know, you're right. You're definitely right. It sucks that in Eastern Europe, and in a lot of places of the world, you don't have access to jobs. So you know, figuring out who you are, that self-identity piece, when you're young, it's just not available. It's not an option for many folks. And so I was blessed in that regard. Even though like I didn't have a very glamorous upbringing. You know, I remember when my mom would give me like $10 once in a while. That $10 was so important. You have no idea how long I would make that $10 last. You know, that means when Mr. Softy, the ice cream truck, came around, I could get an ice cream cone. That means I could get a slushie from the corner store. That means I could get a slice of pizza. You know, that $10 was huge. And I'm thinking back to myself, I was thinking about this the other day, actually. You know, that $10 was so valuable. What can you get with $10 now? Can't get shit. And so it's insane how, you know, your perspective completely flips around as you get older in life. But the other thing about what you said is cultural. In the US, it's very customary to, you know, as soon as you hit 18, 19, 20, to start preparing an exit, to get out of your parents' you know, ecosystem. You know, you want that. Now, granted, things in the US now are tough. In fact, there's a scary trend of a lot of people that have to move back in with their parents because of COVID. A lot of jobs were lost. And so a lot of layoffs happened. A lot of job creation stopped. A lot of job cuts increased. And so there's and then the cost of living is going up. Dollar inflation continues to plague the nation. National debt continues to spiral out of control. The jobs aren't really getting better. They're not paying more. And so it's forcing a lot of people to have to move back in with their parents. And, you know, you can take that for what it is, right? It's a double-edged sword. On one side of the coin, it's a blessing because at least you have your parents there for you, you know, thank God. But on the flip side, it's almost like a societal stigma of failure. It's like, oh, you had to move back in with your parents? Ooh. So there's a lot to unpack with that. And I am totally empathetic to what you said about, you know, the culture there. You know, for one, it's being close to family, but at the same time, it's mainly because they don't have the opportunity. And so I get that.
Yeah, exactly. And let's move a little bit from the childhood and get to like to the first job. You already told us how it happened, but let's unlock some of it. My first job was also in the agency based mostly on SEO. Like I knew social media and all other things, but when I entered, like I needed to learn SEO. and I kind of empathize with what you said of how you move quickly. I started in a Canadian-based agency and like just doing social media, learning SEO. At the time, like SEO was like first leaving valuable comments on the relevant articles back then. Now that this is something that's not a good practice, but at the time it was how you were building links, and like starting from there, move really fast, and like basically just because I was sharing what I learned, sharing knowledge, and like in 30 months I become the first GM that that agency had, like 15 people, and managing all of them just based on the things that I have done before that, like managing organizing huge summer camps with like 200 people from 18 countries. And I learned tons of things just by outside of the marketing, because like I studied marketing, but I didn't learn anything at the college. So I dropped out and moved, actually ended up in marketing by using like the side way. So tell me your story a little bit. How I know that you ended up like being somebody who is talking about music, all those things ended up in the SEO, but how did it went when you started working actually? How did the process go?
Yeah, I mean, kind of similar to you, man. Like I got thrown into the deep end, as I kind of mentioned, and I did have to do a lot of different things that I had never done before, with very little direction, multitasking, lots of projects at once, a lot of time management challenges, just stupid things that, like, now that I laugh at, were messing with me when I was first starting out. Like I remember, for example, I had to crawl with Screaming Frog, a very large website. And because the purpose of doing that was to do a content audit for one of the client websites that we were working on. And as you know, Screaming Frog can only handle a certain amount of pages in its crawl, because it's crawling on your local machine. It's not crawling from a cloud-based application. And the crawl kept freezing. It kept maxing out because it can only handle so much, local storage, local data. And I couldn't figure out how to get around it. And my computer kept crashing, and like, I was just getting so frustrated by this. And I was the type that was reluctant to reach out for help. I really wanted to figure shit out on my own. And so I had reached out to a friend that I had, a colleague that wasn't working at the same company as me, but was like working at a similar type of company. And he was like, well, dude, this is a massive website. We're talking hundreds of thousands of pages. There's no way that you could crawl all that. And you don't need to, because you're not going to be auditing every single page. You're only going to be auditing the blog and product pages. So all you have to do is limit your crawl to that subfolder and you should be fine. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's right. I don't need to be crawling, thousands of archive pages, thousands of, support pages. Like, this is not auditing the support section of the site. And so it doesn't matter. And, just little things like that had to click, just little hiccups like that. I just had to figure out along the way. But, overall, I would say the most shocking part was like, it was super hard work. Like it was a grind. Like, you just had project after project after project. And it's a double-edged sword because, on one hand, it's tough to keep up with the pace. Especially when you're learning, you're not going to be doing deliverables as fast as a more experienced person. But over time, as you keep doing it over and over and over again, by my 20th website audit, I was really fucking good. But on my third one, I was still super slow. And it's just kind of like anything else. And then I think like the final thing I realized that was really important is like, deadlines really are not optional. In the agency world, you cannot miss a deadline. There's just no way around that. And so learning that early in my career was super important, because when you approach in-house work with that mentality, you're just going to be so much better, because people in-house are like, oh yeah, we can push this out. Yeah, no, we don't have to get it done by Friday. Not a big deal. I don't work that way. I don't create arbitrary deadlines for the sake of doing it, but I really push hard to complete tasks, in a more timely and aggressive manner. And that is one thing that has separated me in my career from other marketers.
Well said. Well said. Like learning to be responsible and to be accountable for the things that you are already taking as tasks is highly important. Like now as a CEO, as I'm developing like the company, this is the first thing that I need to get from the people, that I can trust them. Then we can move to all the other things. And so tell me, you said that you almost got fired from the first job. So what's the story over there? What happened?
Yeah, I mean, essentially, when I was first getting started, like my first 3 months, I was so bad. I was so bad at marketing because I was only used to doing marketing in the way that I was doing it before, which was unstructured and just figuring it out, fly by night, sort of day by day, independent, not part of a team. I didn't have to do client deliverables. And so I was used to doing marketing in my own way. And then when you get thrown into a situation where it has to be suddenly much more structured, you have to be able to explain every little part of what you're doing to clients. It's totally different, man. And I just wasn't used to that. And I really struggled with it at first. Like even something as simple as, preparing a spreadsheet for a client in a way that's easy to understand. I wasn't used to, creating pivot tables and, formatting my spreadsheets beautifully. I was just like, yeah, all right. Like all I needed is something rough and dirty, and I'm good with that. Like I wasn't used to creating charts and graphs and all these things. And so I realized that when you're giving information to clients, it's just a totally different ballgame. And so that was, I think, the hardest thing for me to adjust to. And because I sucked so bad, I was just so rough around the edges. And I just wasn't able to deliver work at the quality standards that was expected of me in the beginning. And I really, really struggled big time. And because I was stressed out and I had such high standards for myself, it actually became a backfiring mechanism, and the quality of my work was suffering. There was errors and stuff, and some sloppiness. And so I got put on a performance improvement plan. And essentially, the main message was, if you don't get your act together within the next couple months, you're going to be done. And I said, oh, nah, failure will not be an option for me. And so what I decided to do was lean on the expertise of some of my colleagues that were a little bit more senior than me, which I had been reluctant to do before because I wanted to be a tough guy and kind of just prove it all myself without any help. So I leaned on my colleagues for some more help. I started reading blogs like Moz, Rand Fishkin's blog, Ahrefs, Brian Dean Backlinko. I started becoming more proactive about watching YouTube tutorials. I got certified in Google Analytics. I took more time to just become a little bit more proactive about learning. I was reading more books. And then once I started doing that, shit just started clicking because I kept reading the same thing over and over and over and over again. I took Distilled, what's his name, Will Critchlow's online course. And so I just took more time to self-educate. And that proved to be the difference maker. And so long story short, I obviously, took that performance improvement plan as motivation, turned things around. And then, within 6 months I was flying.
Yeah, kind of the same. It seems like as more as you educate yourself, you share the knowledge, you get there, and you actually follow up with being in the dirt and actually implementing. That's the way to success. So these days, I'm seeing all over the YouTube, all television, wherever, like commercials, Christmas commercials for Coca-Cola, for Milka. I know the one like, you got the law when like there is sign language involved and it's like full of emotions. And I was thinking like, man, I wish like I'm seeing more of this in like B2B companies. I mean, it would be a revolution to see something like that. So it kind of gets me to the next topic that I want to discuss with you. So, like bad marketing. What's bad marketing for you? What are you seeing? I'm leading you to that way because we are both like in B2B space, and we're seeing we're trying to fight some things, but we keep seeing them.
Where do we start? All right. So, the bottom line, dude, is that marketers have been fooled. We've been duped. We've been bamboozled by the tech vendors. And so we've been fed this narrative that you have to do personalization at scale. We've been fed the narrative that you have to prioritize intent leads. Really what this comes down to is two core things that are plaguing the industry. One is that marketers are just doing shit for leads. They're doing shit for leads. Everything's about leads. There was even a point at Pipedrive where I had a manager that said, with each blog post, how many leads do you expect to get from each one? Or how many leads is the blog going to create this month? What I ended up eventually saying back was, well, let me ask you this. When was the last time you ever read a blog and bought something? Period. And there was this kind of just like this awkward pause, like, yeah, never. And it's like, exactly. And so there's that, right? And I think that's a really bad one. And then I think the other thing is that, there's this difference between declared explicit buying intent versus suggested or implicit buying intent. So, you have two routes you can go. You can say, we're really hungry for leads and pipeline and, forecasting. And therefore, what we want to be able to do as a company that has long sales cycles is say, there's a subset of interest here that we want to accelerate. They may not be ready to buy yet, but we want to accelerate it. And so what are we going to do? We're going to go out and reach out to them from a sales perspective, even though they may not be even close to being ready, or they're not even considering us at all for anything. All they did was download an ebook because they thought the content was interesting, or they poked around on the website for the first time, or they attended a webinar just because they liked who the guest speaker was. And so, you have a situation there where intent is merely suggested, but you're trying to figure out ways to cut corners and why? Because everyone's just so greedy and hungry for leads and quotas and pipeline, and executives at the top level have drilled us with this SDR AE, industrial complex, thing, right? And then, so what ends up happening is, rather than just doing great demand gen and waiting for that moment for a prospect to raise their hand and say, yes, I'm ready, to talk to sales. I want pricing info. I want to start a free trial. I am now ready to envision a future life that's better because of your product or service. Instead of that, you have a lot of just corner cutting and hoping that one of those implicit intent things leads to somehow miraculously, turning dust to water, or some sort of miraculous act where they convert. And so those are the two things that are driving bad marketing behaviors. And that's not even getting into the bad tactics, the bad execution. So copying, lazy, lack of creativity, not thinking outside the box, doing the same funnel that every other B2B company is doing, If you look at Drift versus Intercom's website, I mean, it's pretty much a pure copy of one another. There was even something we did at Nextiva where we took the brand logo names off of all of our competitors' content and website, and we said, all right, can you tell who is who? And we actually couldn't. We actually couldn't, because most of our competitors are using the exact same color schemes. They're doing the same kinds of content. There's nothing really, that stands out in a unique and impressive way. And so I can continue ranting on it, but I think I'll just stop there on what I think causes bad marketing and some examples of what bad marketing is.
Yeah, man, a lots of digest over there. I totally agree. I mean, it's funny that I was on the same page with you, with Chris also. Like, maybe this pandemic, this crisis that this year is gonna eliminate people going after MQLs, but unfortunately it didn't happen, and I think it won't happen because like we need more and more people to talk about it, to educate other people, and we need executives to actually see the results of doing things in a different way, so we can change things and get back. I'd say get back to where we should be actually, because like I get that is all of this is coming from thinking like it's us, the company, here's the agency, and customers, they don't have the voice. So we need to get as many leads as possible so we can just convert them, and that's it. We don't care who they are. We don't care in which stage of the buying journey they are. We don't care how educated they are. We just want to get them on the call and try to sell them, or on the email or whatever it is. And it's kind of how it just continues. But I'm seeing some examples. I was writing about it a few days ago, like Netflix, Spotify, Airbnb, like going to meet the customers. So they are not waiting for the customers to come. They are meeting them halfway, even more, and getting into conversations with them. And when the customers really have that experience, they won't go back. They will expect that for the major brands as well.
Absolutely. Everyone is, so you said something important. The Netflixes, the Spotifys, the Amazons of the world have kind of set a new standard of expectations in the eyes of customers. And so when everyone's so used to just getting great delivery, Netflix pretty much never fails you. Amazon pretty much never fails you. They have their imperfections, of course. I made a post about Amazon, and there was a few naysayers. Of course, there's always gonna be a couple. But one guy was like, "Oh, they write, fake reviews. They have a fake reviews problem." I'm sure that's probably true. But at the end of the day, anytime I call Amazon because I have a problem, they answer within a couple minutes. And that's impressive. A company of that size and that scale that can answer at any time 24/7 within a couple minutes, that's majorly impressive. These kinds of companies have really set the standard of what people expect nowadays. And believe it or not, you're going to get compared to them. And I know most companies some founders are probably thinking, well, we're just a scrappy little SMB startup here. We're not even at, $1 million ARR yet. Too bad. You're going to get compared to those kinds of standards. And so, don't hate the player, hate the game.
Exactly. And I just remember, I think it's good to mention. So back in 2017, I think I was working with a huge auto repair shop from Canada, and you know how important are reviews for everything that's connected with cars. It's like expensive toys. And one day they got the negative review, like one, and this kind of essay written by an unsatisfied customer. So they were looking like, who is this guy? What are some things that we have done? What can we done better? Like, the owners were actually good people. And so they were looking at their books. They didn't find anything. So this guy seems like he didn't get to the shop. So they say, okay, let's ask him. So they ask him, sir, when did you come actually to the shop? What was the problem? And you know what he said? 20 years ago. And it was like the father of the guy that owns the shop right now. Nobody that works at the time works at the shop right now. They changed everything. But this guy was waiting to get his Facebook account and to get his revenge for 20 years.
That's epic.
Yeah, exactly. It's
That's
like
epic.
Like the perfect example of how like you should treat every customer the same way and like
That's right.
not get over anything.
Yeah, that just goes to show you never know who's walking in that door. You really gotta step up your game on the customer experience side. You know, as you said with that example, you just never know who you're going to be dealing with.
Exactly. Let's continue that way. What are some takeaways besides those that we already mentioned that are happening right now in like marketing and in sales?
Ah, man. Yeah. You know, I think it kind of, the big takeaway that I am seeing in marketing and sales for next year is essentially that it really is getting more and more back to the basics. The fancy shit has kind of, it's kind of run its course. I'm finding that the best marketing is the most simplistic and easy to understand marketing. Somebody that I admire quite a lot is Jason Fried and Basecamp. I think they're the masters at simplicity when it comes to marketing. I think there's a couple of companies that have really nailed it in terms of simplicity. Freshworks is a great example. MailChimp is another great example. And there are others. But I think getting back to simplicity is a key thing for 2021. And that also means getting more human. And so the companies that get stuck on automation are probably going to be in trouble. The companies that are still doing marketing for leads are probably going to be in trouble. The ones that are still making it hard for buyers to buy are probably going to be in trouble. The companies that do not prioritize their reputation online in terms of driving reviews, creating a good presence on off-party, third-party sites. For example, like if you're a software company, you got to be well represented on sites like G2, TrustRadius, Trustpilot, Software Advice, Capterra, et cetera, et cetera. The list kind of just goes on and on there. You got to have a strong presence. And I think, there's a new concept. It's not really a new concept, but there's a new sort of phrase for it called surround sound marketing, which I love. HubSpot, my friend Irina came up with that. And essentially it's really no longer about like just your website that is creating content and publishing case studies and so forth. It's about actually controlling what your reputation is on other platforms. So what are people saying about you in Reddit threads? What are people saying about you on social media, review sites, aggregators, affiliates? All this stuff matters. And so I love that whole concept of surround sound and trying to get beyond the scope of your own online properties and domains and thinking kind of externally. And finally, I would say digital PR is becoming more important again. And that is not to say, personal branding and thought leadership, but actually, getting your company or your brand in the mix with other big brands and companies. So there was a famous saying, I can't remember who said it. I think it was like Neil. I think my friend Dmitry Jagalev said this. He said, hey, imagine you're at like a party and someone, sees a short Russian bald dude standing there. And they're like, oh, who's that? Oh, I don't know. Whatever. But then put Rand Fishkin next to that short Russian bald dude. Oh, that's that Dimitri guy. Oh, he's with Rand. Oh, he must be somebody. Right. And it kind of works that way with your brand too. You know, Nextiva, right? A lot of people didn't even know what Nextiva was when I joined. In fact, people scoffed at me. They were like, oh, you're going to do growth marketing for cloud phone systems? You know, what is that? Nextiva? What is it? A coffee sweetener? And then, you know, fast forward to, they see us in TechCrunch getting published alongside big names, right? Suddenly now we're somebody. And so that's the kind of PR strategy I've been using all the time, you know, getting us featured in sites like Outreach and Sales Hacker and HubSpot and Drift and all these sorts of sites that have G2, all these sites that are starting to build, you know, momentum and cachet and echelon of being an elite tier brand, just getting our name thrown into the mix with those kinds of brands. And there's kind of a radiation effect that happens when you do that.
Exactly. It's good to know that the pattern that I'm also using is something that's already working, right? Just at the moment, we started working with a company which is like 600 people, age tech, and they want to go to like reach 6,000 employees, because like that's the competitor scale, and that's where they can actually start competing with the biggest and to get like to the unicorn status. And that's one of the things that they are going into. We are close to the end. So maybe we can go into some things outside of the work. So it's been crisis, it's been pandemic. Actually, the crisis will continue. Pandemic, who knows? But until the spring, definitely. So, what are some of the things that you're doing? Also, maybe something that you recommend to the people that they can maybe relax, something that can get them through the tough days. For me, it's like comics, music, riding a bicycle, those kind of things. So what's in it for you?
Yeah, man. I mean, of course, you know what I'm going to say. And that's, you know, for me, music. I still play my guitar every day. I still jam out. I still make beats. I still make videos, all that kind of stuff. It definitely helps quite a lot. That, and I think finding time in your day to completely disconnect from digital. And so for me, that's been bike riding. I love riding my bike. I'm fortunate to live in Miami, so there's always nice weather and I can always take my bike for a nice ride. That's key. I went back to the gym pretty hard this year. I said, you know, we're in a pandemic. It's everybody quarantining and self-isolating. You know what? I'm going to do something about it. I'm not just going to sit home and eat pizza, order delivery and get chunky. So I ended up losing 20 pounds this year. So part of that was due to actually getting COVID. I did get COVID, which kind of sparked some of the weight loss there. I lost like my appetite and stuff, which caused me to lose some pounds. And then I was already in a fitness kind of regimen before that happened. And I said, you know what, I'm just going to keep this going. And so I dropped 20 pounds, got lighter, feel better. Face looks thinner. So, you know, that's always good. You know, those for me have been really important. But again, that's like, it can only take you so far. I think you got to find what really does it for you. I think the final thing I would say about it is like, I'm an introvert. And so when I go to a party or something like that, or after a whole day of Zoom meetings, my energy levels are zero. Every meeting I have with someone takes a little piece of me. And so after a day of meetings, I'm drained, or after I go to a party, I'm drained. And with extroverts, they receive energy from meetings and going to parties. And so the pandemic has, even for me as an introvert, has made me miss people again. Even the introvertest of introverts, it's no match for the pandemic. You know, I live alone. And so there's only so far Zoom Hangouts can take you. You know, you're going to miss the energy of people again at some point. There's been times where weeks have gone by and I haven't even talked to a single person. it got to the point where I was looking forward to going to CVS so I could, make some little small talk bullshit with the cashier. Couldn't even do that because it's all self-checkout. So it's like, it's weird that, you look forward to these little odd moments, but that's just kind of what it is, man.
Yeah, we need to get to it. Like, as they say, everything will pass. So will this one. We just need to stay alive and healthy until that moment. So for the end, I usually ask people questions if there is one thing that we didn't discuss, something that you would like to say, or something that you would like to recommend for the people for the end. So if there is something, go ahead.
Shit, man. I don't know. I guess I would just say, be yourself. Don't, that's the thing that's got me so far in my life, is that I've always been myself. Now who I am is obviously different than most people. I think I fit into that funky marketing category. I'm just a funky guy, I think. But if you're not funky, maybe you should try to get funky. That's probably what I would say, to close this off, right? Like, ask yourself, do I stand out? Ask yourself, am I questioning things? Ask yourself, am I just following the norm? Is the work that I'm doing actually having real impact? Especially as a marketer, I've found that in so many cases, after working with many different kinds of SaaS companies, even on their side projects and stuff, there's really just 20 to 30% of the activities that are getting, 80 to 90% of the results. Oftentimes you can cut half the things that are happening in marketing, and it's just worthless activity. Like, straight up. I can't tell you how many times I've, started working with a new SaaS company, and most of their ads are just ineffective or not working, and it's waste. Or they're working on campaigns that are just creating busy work, or just a number of things. It can be so many things. I can go down the list of ineffective marketing activities that people think are important, but are actually not. And so I think my takeaway would be to get funky, question yourself, question things that you're doing, and really start to audit what am I doing on a day-to-day basis that's going to actually make a difference in terms of, results, movable, noticeable results. And that's what I would leave off with.
Love it. Thanks, man, for that. And thank you for being here. It's been a pleasure, and I hope we can jump on a call sometimes and just continue the conversation.
Right on, man. Yeah, definitely. Thank you again for having me. Appreciate it.